am available on the weekends if you need to talk or come measure my chair or anything like that. That is all, that's all doable, all right? Thank you for your time, and good luck. I look forward to your solution.
I need to get out of this. Oh, listen. Fernando, you're up next. Okay, come on up, Fernanda. All right. All right. Fernanda's been a long time community member in the class.
I'm not old.
No, I said a long time. Long time. Okay.
I think I can do without.
Well, this is for the video, but I'll hold it for
Oh,
you.
okay. All right. Well, good evening. And so wonderful to see a bunch of faces. And it's past, the day of the day, but it's starting to get dark. So Abby talked a little bit about Wheel. And it is an amazing piece of machine. But in my view, even though I've been involved with it from the beginnings of it, in my experience, and the more I've been using this for the last 3.5 years, there's still some things that are not quite there, okay? This class is about perspectives in assistive technology. So the perspective I'd like you to open up to is really how I live in this chair. I spend a good 8 hours at the minimum. And the minute I get out of bed, I sit on this chair. Oh, a penny for my thoughts.
Nickel.
I'm already working the power of the battery until I go to bed at night. So when you think about the manufacturer saying you have a good 15-mile range on that, or 5 hours, well, my life is not compacted in 5 hours, nor 15 miles, because I do get busy. The minute I sit on this and the minute I get out of the bed and go back to bed, this has gotten some mileage out of it. Now, the challenge I have is when I travel, or even when I'm doing a lot of work outside home in different places, I always have to orient myself. And when I'm looking for a place to park to charge my battery, because I need a little bit of juice, I'm running out of gas, right? This is the part that I need your help in, because the battery port, this goes, a 3-prong, goes into the wall. The battery port, guess where it's located? Huh?
In the back.
In the back, yeah. Someplace, you're getting there, you're getting hot. It's somewhere that I can't really reach. And it's also someplace in an area where my body is not balanced for me to get there. I'm grabbing on something to make sure my body doesn't tip over, because the last thing I want to do is fall into, and I don't want to create a scene in the middle of Starbucks. So I have a 3-prong battery plug, and there is a receptor here, way down here.
That you can't see.
I can't see, and with my dexterity and my numbness from paralysis, I have a problem with the grip, positioning, and just the way that this is moved. I mean, mind you, this is made for somebody who's absolutely normal like me. Okay? So the question is, or I'll say this to you. You guys have played Pin the Tail on the Donkey? Yeah? Well, that's what I go through. At the very instant when I'm not positioned at home, when I know I can plug it in because it's a routine. You take me to my disorientation in a different place, it's starting all over again from ground zero. So just to show you an idea, or just my physical exercise into doing this, is, okay, I really have to position myself. I can do this getting out of my chair and then plug it in. Problem with that is I can tip over, okay? And then, so what I do is flip that over. And then I'm going to start getting fatigue because I'm holding here. Now, that's not a lot of fun. And not only is it not a lot of fun, that escalates my frustration each time because I do this every night. I do this anytime I'm low powered in my battery, anywhere I go. Okay? Is it a manufacturer's fault? Maybe, maybe not, but it is going to be an individual challenge for me because of my body's ergonomic, unbalanced, lack of core, and at the same time, this is a standard equipment right here. It's not going to change because this runs on a 212-volt battery underneath me. And one of my criteria in this is that, again, when I am at a Starbucks or any cafe, which I do a lot of work outside, and the one thing I really hesitate in doing is having somebody asking somebody to do it for me. And you know where the plugs are. They're underneath, they're lower, they're having to figure out how to squeeze in between the wheelchair and the wall. And what does that picture look like? It looks like, yeah, not fun, and I look like, you know what, I look like I really am not independent. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much, and I feel like I'm just in Shark Tank.
Okay, Jay and Olenka are next. Here's Olenka.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Well, first of all, you may not be thinking that you're playground age, but in our playground, we welcome all ages. Have any of you been to the Magical Bridge Playground? Excellent. Okay, great. Well, so today we're so honored to be back here. We've been here a few years. We are proposing, so I'm Olenka Villarreal. I'm the founder of the original playground and now running the foundation. I'm here with Jay Gluckman, who you'll meet momentarily. And we're actually introducing two projects. The Magical Bridge Playground came originally as the result of a group of volunteers that I mobilized. We raised $4 million, and we built a playground that we discovered was really the first of its kind. There's plenty of ADA playgrounds, accessible playgrounds, inclusive playgrounds, but really there were no playgrounds that were designed to be delightful for all ages and all abilities without that dreadful stigma of being a special needs playground. And so we did a lot of research, and after Magical Bridge opened, there was so much interest that we started a foundation, and now we are in development. The good news is that we have Redwood City and other local Magical Bridge projects opening. And because there's really very little research being done in the play space, play equipment industry, we're finding that our foundation and our team is doing a lot of new things to advance play to be fun for everyone. So this is a picture of me and Ava, my daughter now, who is 15, but developmentally she's much younger. And let's go to the next slide. As you will soon learn if you haven't already, ADA is a good start as it relates to playgrounds. And the thing that might be surprising to you is of those that do have disabilities, right now it's 1 in every 4. Some people say it's 1 in every 5 of us have a visible or invisible disability. But who can guess which percentage, for instance, of the group that has disabilities, what percentage are actually not wheelchair users? Does anybody want to throw out a number? Who is not a wheelchair, like percentage-wise, not a wheelchair user in the group that's disabled?
At least half. How is it 80?
Right. So actually, the new statistic is 93% of our disabled population is not a wheelchair user. Okay. That said, work with Fernanda, with Abby, and help them with the wheel. But what it is that many of our disabilities in the communities are other than physical. And so that's what this means. And we're just sort of mindful of the fact that ADA started with that understanding, but there's so much more to it. So all of you bright minds, there's a great future. There's a lot of money designing for everybody. Okay, next slide. I don't know who's got the slide stuff. Okay, so anyhow, so what we're trying to do, you guys will come to the Magical Bridge if you haven't been there. We're having two projects here today. The first project is for anybody that grew up and has seen the typical playgrounds that are out there. In order to get height, there is the ramp structure, and I don't have a picture of it here. Well, this is the Magical Bridge in Redwood City, and so this is under construction right now. But in the average playground, there's a lot of ramping that goes on to give you height, and in our playgrounds, it's really important that everything is fenced in so that people with autism that are typically runners don't run off the playground. That is not required in any public playgrounds, but it is required for Magical Bridge. So we have a lot of fencing. For instance, the Redwood City Magical Bridge is going to be about 1.5 acres. It's costing about $8 million, and of that amount, about $500,000 is fencing. No, I'm not kidding you. We had to raise a lot of that money. But the fencing is like a big expense, but there's some opportunities to create play experiences. And so one of the projects that we're going to be asking you to think about, and what's exciting is that it actually can happen locally. Oh, where's the slide about? Sorry about that. Sorry. It's okay. All right, I'm sorry about that order. I apologize about that. So there's two projects, and Jay's going to come and talk about another. One of the projects we're going to invite you to think about is how can we make that fence more purposeful, more engaging. A few years ago, we had some great ideas from students that proposed different kind of tactile things that you could do. And what's exciting for us, too, is that we've partnered with a global playground manufacturer, and they are indeed creating some custom pieces for us, which we're excited about. And we just think there's so much that can be done, that sort of the sky's the limit. But we really are looking for your ideas about ways to enhance the fencing component of not only a Magical Bridge, but perhaps other playgrounds that have fencing. This is a picture of a class that did some fun stuff in a couple of years ago, yeah. And, you know, they had some musical elements. They engaged some Braille exploration. And really, we've just had so much fun in this class. And some of the ideas have been incorporated, and we really just always enjoy meeting all of you and getting to know the community. I think this might be a good time for me to bring up Jay Gluckman, and he'll share with you a little bit more about another opportunity within Magical Bridge. But please know our foundation is in Palo Alto. We are very enthusiastic and magical, if you will, and we are very excited to be engaged in any way possible should you select us. Let me introduce you to Jay, who is our, well, he's running with a lot of the programs for our educational components, our curriculum, and our STEM educator on staff that's very involved in this class in particular as well.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so this is my 4th year getting to help out with this class. I think this class is absolutely amazing. An example of authentic research. You're in for a really wonderful quarter if you don't know it yet. Anyway, I'll just tell you a little bit about kind of the constraints of our project. So you'll be building a prototype. You're not going to be building something that will actually be installed at our playgrounds, but there will be opportunities to do sort of a supervised beta test where you can bring your prototype out to the playground and have the users, which are playground visitors, interact with whatever you prototype. Some of the constraints are if what you build at full scale won't be very easy to bring here to class, it's probably appropriate to build it at reduced scale. There was one project, the dome one, can you, a few years back, there was a capstone project, and I liked what this team did is a few of the interactive components that they had on their dome, they built at full scale, but then they just built the dome at reduced scale, which I thought was pretty cool. What else? If we had a great project last year that used an Arduino. It was the first project that I've seen that involved electricity. They had Arduino, which triggered some lights and with force resistors, which is pretty cool. But if you're going to use electricity, it's going to be low voltage battery powered or solar powered. Yeah, so that's some of the constraints. My project, so one of the things that Magical Bridge is doing is we're reaching out to school communities and developing playground solutions for schools. And when you look at the student population and the disabilities that students have, most of them are not mobility challenges, but the requirements for playgrounds mostly cater to mobility challenges. And so what Magical Bridge is trying to think about, and what we're reaching out to get your assistance with, is how could a school playground be designed in a way to help students that have learning challenges or emotional challenges or social challenges. Just sort of trying to divide, what would a school playground look that really meets the needs of everyone, and that's the project that I'm going to be leading, and we're looking forward to that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Alenka.
This coming Sunday from about 9 until 5, we have a design master's student who's visually impaired who is actually showing us a prototype of a 3-sensory map that helps people with visual impairment navigate. So we're doing usability studies this coming Sunday from 9 to 5 at the Palo Alto Playground. Should anybody be interested or intrigued and available to join us, please do.
Okay. Yeah. We'll be going to the Magical Bridge Playground as a class on a field trip, so stand by for that. Yeah, I was there on opening day. That was great. We have 2 projects from Angie Lee. She's a Stanford student. She writes for the Daily, among other things. And she has proposed a couple projects. The first one is called an elbow lifter that would enable her to feed herself by just lifting her elbow onto the table. And here's what she says about that.
Hi, my name is Angie Lee, and I'm a freshman here at Stanford.
That was last year.
This is called spinal muscular atrophy, and I am pitching the project called Elbow. The target users for this project would be individuals with neuromuscular diseases or anyone who needs assistance getting their elbow onto their table in order to perform very.
Thank you.
So as a freshman in college, I've been really busy meeting new friends and just new people in general. And often an easy way lots of people get to know each other is by sharing a meal with them, either at the dining hall or by going to campus. When I have a meal, I'm able to eat independently once I get my elbow from my armrest onto the table like this. Then I'm able to eat independently like this. Thus, when I'm eating with a person or some people that I barely know, I always feel slightly awkward asking them to help me get my elbow on the table, even though I'm sure they'd be happy to help. But overall, it would be great if I could eat completely independently, and having an elbow lifter would allow me to do so. So the requirements for the elbow lifter would be I would have to be able to operate the elbow lifter by myself, and it must not damage or deface my gift. I would love it if it could be relatively small and blend in with the rest of my chair, but that's not a requirement. The elbow lifter would have to get my arm on the table in a specific way, like this, so that I can eat. Because if my elbow is placed differently, for example, like this, then it will fall and I can't lift my arm back up. So the elbow has to lift it straight in front of me on the table, my arm upright. And yeah, those are the specifications of the project. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope you take on this project.
Thanks, Angie. Let's see. She suggested another project called the Elevator Button Pusher Project. So that's this year's project.
Hi everyone, my name is Angie and I'm a student here at Stanford. I have a disease called spinal muscular atrophy, which is why I'm in this wheelchair. And my project, which I you all
Okay, great. Okay, next up we have Danny in Stanford.
Just keep talking. It's very
My name is Daniel Stickney. I'm 25 years old. I have cerebral palsy. As you can see, I have my fanny pack, but I have a limited hand motions. So it will help if I drop some money and I have to ask people to pick it up, or a piece of clothing, or my phone. I usually use the wheelchair, so I push it towards me and then use the wheel to bend down and pick it up. Another suggestion that I have is a bag around my neck. That it will be nice to find a storage place on my wheelchair to store my stuff that I can get to.
Next slide, please. My name is Stanford Stickney. I'm Danny's older brother, so it should be Danny that's on the list. Needless to say, the whole object is for independence. Right now, we have a backpack on the back, which a caregiver can use or I use to help Daniel, but Daniel can't access that, so that's not viable. Having a tray, like Tony suggested, would be wonderful. The question is, how do you create that so Daniel can use that? Put dog, if he wants to feed the dogs or his laptop, computer, whatever it is, but do it independently. He's not reliant on someone else. Sometimes, Daniel will carry stuff in his teeth, his mouth, to carry things for groceries or whatever else. And if there's a way that we can create something to facilitate Danny's independence, that would be amazing. We thoroughly enjoyed the experience last year. And I say experience, we created products that were viable. Next slide, please. But what was even more enjoyable was getting to connect with students and to dwell on the possibility of what we can create to help improve Daniel's quality of life. I really like this photo. We took this recently. We had to do the laundry, so we stuffed the laundry in Daniel's shirt. I mean, you got to have fun with it. I mean, smile in the world is smile back, because that's the way it should be. And then just as a side note, in terms of electric chairs, it would be so cool if we could do conductive charging. I mean, you have a toothbrush can do that. I know that wasn't on the list, but I just had to share that with you guys. There's brilliant minds here. Danny, do you have any other questions?
No.
And then also, lift sticks. They kind of suck, particularly if you have, hand dexterity challenges or visual acuity. Ideally, if we could create something that doesn't impede, the doorways, so you can get through, and he can put his phone, laptop, or something either underneath or here, or, it slides around with the tray right here. And then if we do it correctly, we won't have to be in a position where Daniel has to reach down to grab something or use an object. And if we do have to have an assistive object, let's make one that works. We actually broke this after we took this photo, because Daniel is trying to do it, but if you don't have the acuity or dexterity, it's not going to work. So there's the ball's in your court, and we'd be happy to support you in any way possible. Home cooked meal, we're right there. Anytime you want to meet, we're right there. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Donna, come on up, Donna. Man, I've known Donna for a lot of years, and I was on her TV show last year, so that's great.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm Donna Yeager. I have a tickle in my throat, so that's why I keep disappearing. But anyway, it's a little bit similar to other situations that we're talking about, but there's we've got photos that I wanted to pass out.
We can do that after the picture.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so I'm in a similar situation where we could go to the next photo, please. There we go. I use a back scratcher for everything that drops on the floor. And in order to pick things up, that's basically what I use. And I'm like balancing it. And my toes are unfortunately getting a little bit of arthritis in them. So it's getting more and more difficult to strategically balance things on this itty bitty back scratcher. And I recently have been wanting to be able to pick up my little 8-pound poodle. And so this is a demonstration of about the size of it. It would fit in a little bucket, but unfortunately I can't have the gadget on the wheelchair. So, but most of the situations are in my home, and they're wood floors and linoleum floors. So it could even be something that rolls independently on its own, and I could just go to the object that I dropped a lot of stuff, not the dog, like my phone and a book, lots of books, and so it would be really helpful. Those 30 times a day that I drop something, it would be really helpful to just have a gadget to do it. I had a service dog, and that's already $3,000 in the hole doing that. So I decided not to do that anymore. But anyway, we could go to the next picture, please.
I think that's it.
Oh, that's it? Okay. There we go. There's the measuring tape to show you that my height of the wheelchair needs to be about 25 inches in order to, have something put on my lap. And this is ironic because that's my attempt at a table. You can see under my feet the little wooden board. But it didn't work too well because I can't get up to a couch or anything. It's really, I kind of jab stuff. That didn't work well at all. But anyway, so, yep, if you guys have any ideas, I would greatly appreciate it. And I live here in Sunnyvale, so we're available anytime. Yeah.
We'll show those afterwards.
Okay.
Donna.
Thank you.
Okay. Amy.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me again. I really enjoyed working with David in the previous quarter. So my name is Amy Lee. I'm founder of Dance for Healing and Stage4.org. How many of you like music? Raise your hand. Wow, we have a lot of people. How many of you like dance? All right, quite a good crowd. Did you know creative arts therapy improve quality of life for cancer patients by 50% and reduce pain by 59%? Anyone? Nobody? Okay. And dancing actually reduces risk of dementia by 76%, which Alzheimer's eventually will cost $1 in $3, and on Medicare by 2050. On the other side, dancing also reduces cardiovascular death by 46%, and that is accountable for 1 in 3 deaths in the US and probably in many other countries. So why do I know that? Because I am a stage 4 cancer survivor. When cancer struck, I went back to my childhood love of dance and music and art, and it really made a difference for me. It made me forget how sick I was. My family went through 6 years excruciating pain, both mentally and physically, with my stage 4 cancer. 25 years of anxiety and worry with my sister's lupus. I don't want anybody to go through that. So this is why, shortly after my stage 4 cancer, I launched a company called Dance for Healing, which is empower a patient like me who's stuck at home often, able to have access to the power of creative arts therapy. And it's not just me. There's also patients like my sister, due to chronic conditions, often I'm stuck at home. And then there's people like my mom, who I often feel guilty that I make her age a lot, who's now aging, and, typically maybe not able to stand for a long time, or like, other people's like all these wheelchair. You guys are a huge inspiration for me. And so one of the big problems in people who are stuck at home often in isolation and loneliness, the damaging effects equal to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, right? Both mentally and physically. And anyone heard about BJ Fogg behavior design? No? Oh, you guys look it up. So he heads up this lab called Persuasive Tech Lab at Stanford. So trying to create human motivation is the most difficult thing. But if you make it easy for people to do, right, there's much chance. And then guess what? Bring in the most powerful behavior prompt to empower people to do things. So that could be music is a natural trigger for dance. And the other one could be an imported, supported buddy from the community, right? And so I want to invite you to think about possibility of, actually, I want to do a little experiment. So if you spray out a little bit, and so just do a simple movement. Yeah, so raise your hand. So just do simple movements, okay? All right, and so do 1, 2, 3. Right? And then the other hand, right? And then you can do this. A little bit move. See, you don't have to stand up. You can still do this. And imagine your wheelchair or your chair that you're sitting for a long time had it automatically prompt to allow you do pressures or do sound or do, synchronize with the music and kind of give you directional guidance. Where should you go? And then maybe there's lighting expressions in your decoration where it will synchronize the music while you dance. It will let you fully express. And then what about your chair or your wheelchair? Could be a musical instrument, right? Where you tap it, and it could be like there's sounds and the music you could create it, or allow you to select different kind of music that you like. And then there's also a lot of research now indicating AR and VR actually creates a lot of power of allow you to have different neural experience. So, there's also opportunity in that. So I wanted to invite you, to consider any fun ways to make this powerful and benefiting many people. And, including all these amazing, project partners here. And there's videos in my computer, and then also pictures if you want to talk to me afterwards.
I'll post it later on.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Okay. Let's make way for Nick. Come on up. Yeah, we need autonomous chairs to get out of the way.
Hello. I'm Nick Serpolo. I'm a clinical and medical psychologist here in Palo Alto, so I have a real job, but I work for myself, so I have better hours. The thing I wanted to talk about today is a problem with things falling off my lap. And I was very interested to see that several people in their pitches mentioned things that overlap with this, so I'll get to some of that. I'm pretty active. I do a lot of things, some of them with sharp tools, some of them just with kitchen tools, sometimes with food. You can think of all the objects you have in your hands during the day that you move from place A to place B, and that's the problem. It's not exactly picking up stuff, but... So I have some design background. I was an architectural consultant to Stanford for the 80s and 90s to make things accessible before there was ADA or any code. I wrote a code for them. And I also am an organizational psychologist, and I work with team building. So if any of you run into team issues, feel free to call me. That's fine. I work with a lot of tech and engineering firms about that. And so I'm an active person. I'm out of the house to a lot of places during the day. And the kind of device I'm talking about is useful for anybody who keeps dropping things off their lap. And it's mostly wheelchair users. and especially active wheelchair riders for whom a fixed lap tray would interfere with movement, or with leaning, or with having a friend on my lap, or a variety of things that would be a problem. So the problem is about losing time. All these things take up time, and picking up stuff, losing time. And the gravity is part of the problem, and not reliably being able to get things from here to there. So food in the kitchen, moving things around, preparing a meal, getting the meal from the preparing area over to the table safely. Similarly, being at buffets in restaurants, salad bars, or other such places. Especially hot foods are difficult, and need to be careful with that. Glasses of liquid. Pieces of paper, just papers around, just office stuff, magazines, hearing aids. I have small hearing aids, and they're easy to drop when I go to fix a battery while I'm talking with the patient or something like that in the office. Snail mail comes in bunches, and I need to sort through it and get rid of it. I can't easily take it on my lap from here to there. I wind up putting it in the net underneath me, which some of you probably can't see from there, but things get lost in there. And things that I need to have here, it might be a lap tray, it might be some other kind of surface. I don't know that I want to call it a tray, but some device that keeps things from rolling away. That could also hold a laptop computer, as Tony said. Be a writing surface for notes that I have to write, can hold pens, a headset maybe that I've taken off for a moment, a book. And then someone else mentioned, I think Abby mentioned things in stores, groceries, bags of groceries, getting stuff from the car and out of the car into the house, getting things into the car for that matter. Abby's talked about a need also for transporting stuff, similar idea. Tony mentioned his tray idea. Daniel was talking about things falling all over the place and not having a place to put them. So the criteria for this design I have in mind would be something should be unobtrusive, out of the way when it's at rest, should be compact, easy to deploy, easy to stow, flexible, not rigid, a non-slip surface. Doesn't have to be really high traction, but basically non-slip. It wouldn't be something to wear, like something I could have here, like a big vest that opens up, put all the stuff in there, go. No, not quite that. A friend had a great idea. He said, get that stuff that football players use to catch balls, the sticky stuff, spray it on your legs when you want to put on something, stick it on there, and you go. Okay.
Velcro pants.
Velcro pants, exactly. So things need to stay in place, not slide off. Should be about 9 to 12 inches forward from my body and about 20 inches wide. The materials could be fabrics, plaster, leather, web belts, bamboo slivers, I'm not sure what they're called. And it needs to not cantilever such that if there's weight here, it flips everything off. So that's a problem with trays generally. Okay. Needs to be more secure. That's
Okay. Thanks, Nick. Okay. I want to thank you for your patience. I know we're a little bit over, and just give me like 5 more minutes to get through these other ones. You may want to start now thinking about your priority order on these projects, but maybe wait until I finish with this. I'm doing presenting a couple of projects for June, who lives up in San Francisco. She's an older adult, as you see here, who uses a rollator for balance now. But using that rollator makes it really hard for her to do cleaning tasks at home. So your challenge here is to explore designs to a way of giving her an independent means of performing cleaning tasks. Must be safe, easy to use, and so easy to operate and fold up and be compact. A second project is able to reach things that are up in high places now. June comments that she's actually losing height with age, so things that were within her reach before are now out of her reach, and add to that the need for her to balance and reach at the same time and use a rollator. So the goal here is to explore designs to provide a safe and stable means of getting to items on upper shelves. So she lives up in the city, and it's sort of hard for her to get around. And if you take on this project, you might have to meet with her up in the city. But she's a great person. I should mention that all the people that you've seen are just wonderful people. So any project that you do, you're going to meet some great people. Okay, this is a project from the VA. They have an assistive technology lab there. And this device is actually a recumbent, hand-powered, competitive tricycle. And they have one of these at the VA. And they're meant for people with spinal cord injury and even people with quadriplegia. Now, the problem here is that people who are quadriplegic don't often have a good grip. So it's really hard for them to hold on to the pedals to propel themselves. So your challenge is to come up with something that would give them the grip to hold on to the pedals so they can operate this. Okay? We're going to be going to the VA on a field trip as well. I have a couple projects that are sort of general. Anything that you can do to provide creative expression to a person with disability is great. It could be crafts, artwork, drawing, doing music, whatever. There's a whole lot of possibilities there. Another one, and I saw this poster today. There's a series of courses called Design Your Life, and so I got thinking, well, how about Design Your Afterlife as a joke? But then I thought about it some more, and this is really sort of relevant for people who are in declining health or have a progressive disease, that they may want to sort of capture their personality, their family members, and humor, and through pictures and audio and stuff. And about 4 years ago, a team did an app to actually do this. But there may be some other ways to create a personality, a computer personality that would perhaps tell jokes to them in the voice of this individual. So that's really sort of open. And then if you have an idea for a project, you're certainly welcome to pitch it to me and work on it. I've had several students who've had siblings or parents with a disability, and they wanted to do something for them. So that's a possibility. So here's an example of an individual project, just for completeness. Christina Jackson, who is Miss Wheelchair USA, she's at CES now. California, yeah. She had the idea of coming up with an assistive technology shop where people can go and get their stuff repaired, have things custom made and stuff like that. Well, obviously we can't implement it as a project in the class in real life, but you can certainly come up with a paper design of that. So that's an example of an individual project. So right now, I know there's some of you guys may have to leave, but a lot of the suggestors have stuck around. Now is your time to talk to them, talk to me, get some more information about the project. You're certainly welcome to call them during this next week and get some more information. Their contact